All right, let's say that a person's standing right here and I'm right here in the center and I'm facing this direction and I want to try to throw the Nerf football at them to see if they can catch it. Now I'm blindfolded. So you got to tell me how many degrees to open up to throw the ball so this person can try to catch it. Well, most of you would probably say, hey, open up 148 degrees. So I would go, okay, I'm going to go 148 degrees and boom, throw it that direction. And maybe that's perfect. So maybe 148 degrees would be a perfect throw right to the center of his hands. But somebody might say, hey, why don't you spin this direction? Well, if they say spin that direction, what are they going to, how could we do that? Well, what is spinning that way? That's a negative turn. So they might say, hey, turn negative 212 degrees or maybe negative 220. That means turn your body this way to spin instead of going the positive direction. But do not both of them end up, especially if you use 212 or 148, do they not end up in the exact same location? They're pointing at the same direction? Yes, because we could spin left or we could spin right. We can spin to the negative way or the positive way. We end up at the same spot. That means those two numbers, 148 and negative 212, are coterminal. They're pointing at the same direction. They're pointing at the exact same spot. So sometimes we want to say, hey, give me somebody that's coterminal. Well, if we're dealing with this, and let's deal with this. Let's say this is 10 degrees. It's a little more than 10 degrees, but we're going to say it's 10 degrees. So give me something that's coterminal to it. Well, somebody might say, hey, fine. I'm going to spin around this way, negative 350 degrees. And yes, negative 350 degrees and 10 degrees are coterminal because they're 360 degree different. They're different by 360 degrees. So they are coterminal. They're pointing at the same direction. But what if somebody said to me, hey, go 730 degrees, Mr. Hickam. Is that coterminal? Well, think about it. 730 would be one spins 360, another is 360, that's 720, and then 10 more would, yes, I would be landing in the same spot. So 730 and 10 degrees are coterminal. They're pointing at the exact same location. Notice they differ by 720 degrees, which when you divide by 360 is a perfect 2. As long as you spin a multiple of 360 degrees, you're going to be coterminal. So I could have done 3 things of 360 or 4 spins of 360 or 5 or 10 or 11 or a million. It doesn't matter as long as they differ by 360. So all I have to do to get another coterminal angle is add 360. I can add it once, I can add it twice, I can add it 3 times, or I could subtract 360 once, twice, 3 times. So that's how we end up finding another angle that is coterminal. We simply add a multiple of 360, whether it's 1 turn of 360 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So if somebody gave you 40 degrees and said, give me somebody that's coterminal. Well, if I add 360 degrees of that, 400 is coterminal to that. Okay, that should be easy enough. What about if we're in terms of pi, if we're in radians? Oh my goodness. Well, what is 1 full rotation around? 2 pi. So you're going to have to add a multiple of 2 pi. It could be 2 pi or 2 things of 2 pi, 4 pi or 6 pi or 8 pi. So if somebody, now this is going to get a little tricky for you. So if, let's say I'm pointing here, and let's say we're at pi over 4. Okay, now I could subtract and go this way. I could subtract 2 pi from that. And maybe you can see if you have 1/4 of $1 and you subtract $2, you're at negative $1.75, 1 3/4, which is simply negative 7 pi over 4. But we're going to have to deal with some fractions here. And I know you love that. But that's what we're going to have to do. So let's pretend somebody gave me pi over 3 and they said, hey, give me a coterminal angle, an angle that's pointing in the same direction. I'm going to have to do 2 things. I can either add 2 pi, I could add 4 pi or 6 pi or 8 pi, some multiple of that, or I could subtract. So we've got to let's say we want to add 2 pi. We just want to spin it another 360 degrees, or in radians, 2 pi. Well, I need a common denominator. We should know that from elementary school. I need 2 pi, which is 2 pi over 1, to be over, I need it the same denominator as that guy, which is a 3. Well, what did you multiply 1 by to get 3? A 3. So multiply the 2 pi by 3, which gives me 6 pi on top. So 6 pi over 3 is the exact same thing as 2 pi. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now when I add these, I get what? 7 pi over 3. So 7 pi over 3 is 1 full rotation around. 7 pi over 3 and pi over 3 are coterminal. Okay? They are coterminal. What if they gave us, let's say they gave us pi over 5. Let's make it 2 pi over 5. And they say, give us somebody that's coterminal. Well, what am I going to do? I want to add 2 pi is what I want to add to that. Or I could subtract, doesn't matter. We'll just add 2 pi. So I got to get a common denominator. So we have 2 pi over 5. We want this guy to be over 5. So you have 2 pi over 1, and you're trying to get the denominator to be a 5. So you multiply the top by 5. So it's just worth 10 pi over 5, which you probably could see 10 divided by 5. The key is you got to get the common denominator. So 12 pi over 5 is a coterminal angle to 2 pi over 5. And I could have done 4 pi if I wanted to get really crazy. Well, over 5, that would have been what? Multiplied by 5 on the bottom. So multiply 5 here. Would have added 20 pi over 5 to that 2 pi over 5. That would have given us 2 full spins around. 22 pi over 5 is also coterminal to that 2 pi over 5. They're pointing in the same direction. So if it's degrees, you're simply adding a multiple of 360 or subtracting a multiple of 360. If it's in terms of radians, you simply are adding 2 pi or a multiple of 2 pi or subtracting a multiple of 2 pi.